What makes you think she's a witch?
Well, she turned me into a newt.
A newt?
We got better. Hello? Hello? Anybody home? Hey, think with fly, think.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Wait, Master. It might be dangerous. You go first.
Using his vast knowledge of history and politics, we start our day off right with motivational speaker Richard Battle.
So happy to have him on the program with us. We've got lots to discuss. Mr. Battle, how you doing?
Good morning, Al. Thanks for having me bat lead off again today.
No, these are it's our pleasure, but on a day like today, I'm very happy to have you on. I know it's been a week since Charlie Kirk got shot. But I want to use some of your historical reference for it, if we may. This is my theory. I think this Charlie Kirk thing, a week later, as it still seems to be grabbing momentum, is going to be this generation, these kids' generation's Ronald Reagan getting shot. You remember where you're at when Ronald Reagan got shot? We were sent home from school. It's the first time I talked, I guess, politics with my mom. I guess I always thought she was probably a Democrat. But she was crying. She says, you can't do this. We shouldn't shoot presidents. You got to have respect. Shouldn't have shot JFK. She was busted down. It's like my first political thoughts. And I think this might be that for this generation. I know he's not a president. He's not even a politician. But it seems to have that reverberation. Your thoughts on Charlie Kirk's shooting?
Well, and there's more to it than that. It's an event they'll remember where they were and what they were doing. But it also, the suddenness and the unexpectedness of the loss and the grief for these young people. Most of them have never lost anybody yet. And so they've never felt grief, and it's never come on them all of a sudden and unexpectedly. And so that's another aspect of this that they have to deal with. And so I think this is going to reverberate for the next couple of generations. And it's going to be amazing to watch how the organization continues and grows and positively impacts people going forward.
Yeah. I think if you combine it with the year before, the president getting shot at, right? I mean, and getting hit but not dying, I think this is that timetable from they're coming to realize that people do disagree and some crazy people do crazy things, and we got to separate the two. I find the thing with Charlie Kirk, the word, because you see in all the videos now again, and I think I've watched just about all of them. He was a guy who took the First Amendment to heart. He went to colleges and universities and just wanted to debate, not yelling or screaming, asked for people who disagreed to come to the front of the line. He should be everything we'd like. And I get some people think he's right-wing nut and all that. I get it. But it should be what we're looking for in discourse, right? I mean, if you want to stand on the public square and chat, go get it.
Absolutely. And I think I'd mentioned to you a few years ago, I had a friend during the election, a friend I'd had for many, many years, a good friend, and he disagreed with me on my political candidate. I didn't care. He wanted to support someone different than I did, but he could not tolerate that I wanted to support a person differently than him. And it cost us our friendship. And that's the sad thing in this. No. We ought to be able to discuss the ideas, even if we disagree, respect each other and maintain our friendships and relationships. And it's amazing that we've gotten to the point that we can't do that just yet. But I'm hoping this can help us turn the tide.
It should wake everybody up. I hope so anyway. Thank you. I want to get your history on it. It's Constitution Day. And
Happy Constitution Day.
Happy Constitution Day. People are like, what are you talking about? It's not July 4th. What is Constitution Day? And I think folks are, no, you're serious. It's September 17th, 1787.
That's the date the Constitution was signed, but it's kind of interesting because people think, well, golly, the Yorktown, which will be celebrated next month, happened in October 1781. What the heck happened? And what's ironic during the War for Independence was the state governments were writing their own constitutions and having their own colonial governments while the war went on. Most revolutions, there's no government going on until the revolution's over. And they actually wrote the Articles of Confederation, which was our first government document in 1781. and it didn't work very well. And so they had a constitutional convention, and people thought they were going to go in and just tweak it. And guess what? They sequestered themselves and wrote a whole new governing document.
Well, I think a lot of folks don't even know that there was an actual Confederate paper first. Where is that sitting, by the way? Is that in a museum somewhere? We must have a copy of that like they do the Constitution, right?
Well, I'm sure it's at the Smithsonian in Washington, but I haven't taken the effort to go look at it because it's irrelevant now.
Yeah, but I find I'm gonna have to look it up because I find that interesting. They wanted to make it understandable, right? This is what I use. We had this constitutional amendment here in Minnesota about omnibus bills. Our Constitution says every bill would be about one topic, and the title will tell you what that's about. Really simple. It's like 18 words long, this whole article. And we had to go to court to find out if these omnibus bills, because they want to say, well, that's not what they mean here and here. They wrote the Constitution so that farm guys, Al Travis radio guys, which wasn't invented yet, could read it and understand what it meant, right?
Well, absolutely. And remember, this was an experiment in self-government. Mm-hmm. And so it was created based on the successes of other societies and avoiding the failures of other societies. And it was based to try to restrain power and human nature from abusing other humans. And that to me is so important, because the only thing that's kept this the longest living governing document is people deferring and restraining themselves from abusing the Constitution by grabbing more power than they're allowed. And we see that, unfortunately, more often than we should.
What I find amazing is the age of the humans that came up with all this. These guys are basically their mid-20s, right? Early 30s at their best. And they're sitting down, like you say, sequestered in a room. And somebody says, what do we get about separation of powers? Let's have two form, no, that doesn't work. Let's do three. And they just kind of busted it down from top to bottom. And as I understand it, as each person came up, well, what happens if? Then they all busted up and said, let's figure out how to get around that. And that's how we get the Electoral College. These guys literally looked at government from all sides, good, bad, and different. And I don't know which one said, if we were all angels, we wouldn't need this, but we're not. And I just love the way they built this thing from top to bottom. This is what gets me a bunch of 23-year-old guys.
Yes, and the document is still the greatest document there is. The problem we have is not with the document. The problem we have is with people misusing it. And like you say, taking something where you should have a simple name of a bill and contorting it to making it obscure what you're talking about. No. And so Madison had books ferried across the Atlantic about other civilizations and governments. They were very well read. They did not want a monarchy. They had just escaped that. They did not want a democracy. We are not a democracy because that's mob rule. So they came up with constitutional republic because that is the majority rule, but it protects the minority viewpoint.
Gotcha. I got to go to break, but you talked about this. We didn't want a kingdom anymore. Didn't they offer Washington to be the king? I mean, at some point, somebody wasn't all on, let's just make him king. We'll talk about that on the other side of the break. I've got a Mr. Battle on the Al Travis Show.
When the stakes are high at the Minnesota Capitol, you need more than a lobbyist. You need a partner. At Momentum Advocacy, we bring nearly 90 years of combined experience in government relations, public affairs, and strategic communications. From nonprofits to national corporations, we help organizations navigate Minnesota's political landscape with integrity, insight, and results. Whether you need legislative champions or headlines, Momentum Advocacy delivers. For more, visit momentum-advocacy.com. Momentum Advocacy, your friends at the Capitol.
Achieving your financial goals requires individual planning and a comprehensive approach. At Midwest Money Management, our mission is to provide you with the knowledge, tools, and confidence to feel comfortable financially today and secure about tomorrow. Learn more at MidwestMoneyManagement.com. That's MidwestMoneyManagement.com.
Securities offered through JW Cole Financial Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services offered through JW Cole Advisors Inc. Midwest Money Management and JW Cole Financial Inc. and JW Cole Advisors Inc. are unaffiliated entities.
The Al Travis Show, the last place you can go and hear all sides. Respectful, thoughtful, and grateful.
If you just joined us, it's Constitution Day. A happy Constitution Day to you and yours. So, Mr. Battle, there were some folks that wanted to put Washington in as king. I mean, he actually had to decline it, right? So was this like a second thought after the revolution than getting a constitution and doing it like this?
Well, I think there were some people that were so appreciative of Washington. They thought so much of his leadership, they offered him that. But I don't think those were people who actually wrote the Constitution. They were more short-sighted and emotional, if you will, and cooler heads prevailed. Thankfully, Washington recognized that. He didn't want to be king anyway. He didn't want to serve. He wanted to go back to the farm. But his love for the country, allowed him to accept the election as president first 2 terms.
It really is a almost religious document, though, right? I mean, it literally states outright, these are God-given rights that every man has, and the government can't take it away. Isn't that the whole idea of the Constitution, is how it pulls back the government's ability to take away stuff that you were given by a higher power?
Well, what's interesting is in the Declaration of Independence, the creators mentioned 4 times, including giving us the rights for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Constitution doesn't enumerate it, but yes, it's a document that restricts government and gives people individual liberty. And the first 12 amendments did the same thing. The last 15 have been written in a different manner, which give government more power.
Now, we've amended that, right? We've amended it a number of times, but some of the amendments were to take back amendments we've done. How many actual, prohibition, we had that, then we had to unamend that. How many actual amendments are there?
Well, there's 27 amendments, and the only one that was taken back, if you will, was the prohibition one.
Okay.
And that lasted from 1919 to 1933.
And how do we go about getting that, by the way? We even wrote in that. If you don't like the Constitution, they came up with a way of how you're going to fix the Constitution. It's in the Constitution.
Well, yes, there's 2 ways to amend it. One is going through Congress and the states, and each house of Congress has to pass an amendment. Then it has to go, and 3/4 of the states' legislatures have to pass it as well. And they do that to prevent emotions from rising and having something happen and people saying, hey, let's outlaw steak knives because they hurt steaks. And so that's one way to do it. The other way is in Article 5, and that's called a Convention of States, which is similar to when they call the Constitutional Convention, in that the states can send delegates and they can create amendments or modifications to the Constitution, which then the states would approve.
But you have to have it's a very high, 66%, 2/3 of all the states got to go and agree to it, right? I mean, that's not just 8 different states got together. Isn't that a number?
In the amendment, it's 3/4.
Okay.
And so there have been amendments like the women's rights amendment.
But what about Convention of States? What about Convention of States? That's a high bar as well. Is it just 50%?
It's a high bar. I can't remember the number exactly right now.
See, and I love that you bring up that this whole document is made to slow the wheels down so things aren't emotional about it. We've got to get a big consensus. As we sit here, back to bring up Charlie Kirk, we've had shootings in Minnesota that have just rocked us to our foundation. They want to run. They want to have a special session. We want to ban. We want to do this and this. And I'm sitting here going, keep thinking. Let's walk this thing through. You all get back to session in February. Nothing has to change tomorrow that we can't do in February. We're running to the door to try to change things, and I don't think we're through the emotions of it all yet, and that's not how this was supposed to be.
No, not at all. And so the people, when they were sacrificing to serve, they were much longer term thinking because there wasn't as much for them personally to gain or lose. And today, the politicians' number one thing is to make sure they get reelected. And so they want to be perceived as being out front and acting on something when it happens so they can protect, as they said in the movie, their phony baloney jobs.
Yeah. If I was sitting here listening to this radio show, and I thought to myself, you know what? My household has not celebrated Constitution Day in some time. I think we'll start today by buying the Richard Battle AmeriCANS Who Made America, 19th Century Growth, Division, and Reunification for sure. And if you're really a great parent, you'd buy the set which is, of course, the 18th century as well. And then it all started by AmeriCANS, by America. I guess if I was going to celebrate Constitution Day right, wouldn't this make a great idea? I just throw it out there.
Well, absolutely. And thank you for asking. And richardbattle.com, all the books are available. And we have a bundle where if you get those three, we throw in a fourth book complimentary as well.
Oh, wow.
They're all signed. If you want one inscribed, email me, richard@richardbattle.com. We're happy to do that. All 12 books are in Amazon, including 11 on Kindle and 8 on audio.
That is just fantastic. Go take a look at his website, richardbattle.com. The other thing you do, maybe folks don't know, you go around, you give speeches, you give on a number of topics besides history. I think you're great at. But businesses, you've been a business guy most of your life. You get how to make your business better. How, do they go to the same website? Is there a place for them to ask for that as well?
Yes, they can go to richardbattle.com. Email me, richard@richardbattle.com. We'd love to talk to them.
All right. We love having you every Wednesday. But next Wednesday, we're giving you the boot. It's Save Day. We're going to do this big save deal. We'll talk about that on the other side of the break. But I thank you, Mr. Battle. I really do love having you on the show. Happy Constitution Day, my boy.
Happy Constitution Day. God bless America.
Dust from gravel roads and driveways